Hey everyone, and welcome to our Explainer. Today we're diving deep into the story of an absolute titan of industry, a guy who took one big idea and turned it into a global empire. Yep, we're talking about Jeff Bezos and the incredible rise of Amazon. Let's get right into it. So let's just start with a number that's, well, it's pretty hard to wrap your head around. $150 billion. By the middle of 2018, that was Jeff Bezos' estimated net worth. I mean, a number like that just puts you in a totally different league. In fact, that's the exact title Forbes magazine gave him, not just one of the richest, but the richest man in modern history. An achievement like that is just staggering, and it makes you ask a pretty simple question, right? Where does a story like this even begin? How does someone build one of the most powerful companies on the entire planet? To figure that out, we've got to go all the way back to the start. Okay, so let's start with his early years. Long before Amazon was a name everyone knew, there were some pretty clear signs of the ambition and the raw intellect that would end up defining his future. Bezos' beginnings were actually pretty humble. He was born to a teenage mother and later adopted by his stepfather, Miguel. But his family was really steeped in science and engineering. I mean, his grandfather was a director at the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission. And the ambition? Oh, it was there from the get-go. Get this. In his high school graduation speech, he was already talking about colonizing space. The vision was massive right from the very start. And his early career path was just meteoric. He graduates from Princeton with an insane 4.2 GPA and then just rockets up the ladder on Wall Street. By the time he's 30 years old, he's already a vice president at a major hedge fund. He had it all, a super secure, super high-paying job. And then he just walked away from it all. And this right here, this is the moment that changes everything. He wasn't just leaving a job. He was taking this incredible, some would say crazy, gamble on a completely new idea. Just think about this for a second. His very first investors, they were his parents. They put in $300,000, and he looked them in the eye and told them, hey, just so you know, there is a 70% chance you will lose every single dime of this. I mean, talk about managing expectations. So let's break down this leap of faith. He leaves that cushy, secure job, gets that incredibly high-risk loan from his family, and places this massive bet that the internet was the future. Even the name was super strategic. Amazon, for its massive scale. And it started with an A, so it would show up at the top of all the early web directories. Smart. But of course, a gamble that huge doesn't just lead to instant, easy success. Not at all. The early days of Amazon were a total roller coaster, a real battle for survival that pushed the company right to the absolute brink. And what a roller coaster it was. In 2002, the company was literally teetering on the edge of bankruptcy. They had to shut down distribution centers, lay off 14% of their staff. It was bad. But then, just 1 year later, they post a profit of $400 million. It is one of the most unbelievable turnarounds in business history. After they survived that near-death experience, the growth was just relentless. Amazon went from selling books to selling, well, everything. They launched the Kindle, which completely changed how we read. They started landing massive government contracts. And by 2018, Bezos had officially passed Bill Gates to become the wealthiest person on the entire planet. So what can we actually learn from this incredible story? Well, his journey really offers 3 key lessons that can apply to almost anyone, not just people trying to build an empire. Okay, lesson number 1. It might seem obvious, but it is easily the most important. Everything that Amazon became, all of it, started with one single decision: being willing to take a massive, calculated risk. I mean, he walked away from a guaranteed path to wealth for an idea with a 70% chance of complete failure. But here's the thing, it wasn't a blind gamble. It was calculated. Bezos saw this one statistic that changed everything for him. The internet was growing at 2,300% a year. He figured it was better to try and fail than to live with the regret of not even being part of that revolution. Lesson number 2 is all about resilience. Success is never a straight line, ever. And the story of Amazon is the perfect example of navigating these extreme highs and, these absolutely devastating lows. Yeah, let's go back to that crisis in 2002. It would have been so easy to just give up. But his strategy for survival wasn't just about cutting costs. It was about doubling down on his core beliefs. He stayed totally obsessed with the customer experience and long-term cash flow, even when it meant making some really painful short-term decisions. It's such a powerful reminder that real stability is often forged in those moments of crisis. And finally, our third lesson is about focus. In a world that is just full of noise and criticism, you have to stay locked in on your own vision. I mean, Bezos has faced a ton of criticism over the years. The press has called him a corporate supervillain. He's been under huge pressure from politicians, you name it. But through all of it, he stayed completely laser-focused on his long-term vision. He tuned out all that noise to build the company he believed in. His whole philosophy was that if you focus on the customer, they'll be the ones who protect you. And from that perspective, short-term criticism just doesn't matter as much. And that really brings us to our final thought here. The entire Amazon empire, the whole story of the richest man in modern history, it all comes back to a single moment. A decision to take a 70% chance on failure. And it kind of leaves us with a question for ourselves, doesn't it? What's a risk that you're willing to take to go after your own big idea?